All right, it's been an incredible month in aviation. So many things have happened. I didn't even get time to change. I thought right here at the airport, I want to comment about what happened in Toronto. I've got some insight on what happened with the airplane. Let's start to take a look and dive into it right now.
Toronto Tower, Endeavor 4819, I'm tack, Northwest 23. Endeavor 4819, Toronto Tower, wind 270, 23, gust 33, clear to line on rate 23. You might get a slight bump in the glide path, there'll be an aircraft in front of it. Clear to land, 23, Endeavor 4819.
Okay, we've got Endeavor 4819 is a CRJ 900, a very common airplane. There's a lot of them out there in service. Very, very reliable airplane. 76 people on board, 4 crew members, 80 folks all together. They've just been cleared for landing. They're lined up on runway 23 at Toronto Airport. The winds are gusty. They're kind of down the runway, but there's some right to left crosswind. That's going to be a factor here in a minute. Let's see what happens next.
Oh!
4543 ground runway 248, Skyfall altimeter 2993.
Okay, let me pause it right there. So we have some incredible footage from another airplane that was filming just what they thought was going to be a routine landing. It ends up being a crash landing that incredibly all 80 people walk away from. That's the really good news about all of this. But what I observe initially is this. It's a gusty day. You can tell by the cloud formations. It's just one of those days where it's kind of, the winds are unpredictable. And I think the forecast was winds gusting up to 30 knots or more. This airplane comes in. It looks like it's on a normal glide slope as it comes in, but right at the very end, and we're going to reverse this in a minute, and we're going to play it back in slow motion. I'm going to analyze it for you. But right at the very end, the airplane dips to the right, the wing strikes the ground, and the wing departs the airplane, and the airplane rolls over. And you see fire here at this point. It's going to get put out rather quickly between the snow and the fire crew getting out there in an incredibly quick time frame. But let me start it over here again, and let's go back over and let's take a look and follow this in slow motion, because I want to analyze specifically what I think caused this accident. Okay, here it comes in slow motion. The airplane is touching down. We'll stop it right there. You see on the right side of the airplane, there's a plume of snow coming up. That's not smoke. That's snow coming up. So that's the moment where the wing tip most likely touched and struck the ground. Now, I think they're still on the runway here. They could be just slightly off. There may be a little bit of snow on the runway, and that explains how that snow flume comes up. Now, as that happens, here's what's going to happen with the end of the wing. The wing is designed to take incredible forces from the wind, but it's not really designed to twist in a twisting motion like an aluminum can would. If you took an empty aluminum can and twisted it, it would torque and fall apart rather quickly. Now, this wing is super strong, but it's not designed to do exactly what it does next. The wingtip now touches down the ground. Why did that happen? Well, there's a couple of reasons. It was a hard landing. There's no mystery about that. Now, in the final analysis, when the investigators get done doing everything, they're going to tell us exactly why that wing dipped down and touched the ground the way it did. But we can obviously see from this, it did. So it's a very hard landing, whether it was a gust of wind or it was just forced onto the runway for some reason. Once that end of that wingtip hits the ground, it's going to send a twisting motion throughout the entire wing, and the other end of the wing is attached to the airplane. So all that kinetic energy is going to go through to the other end of the wing, and it's going to cause a twisting motion at the wing root. And that wing root is what caused that wing to come apart. Let's follow this a little bit more. Super slow, it's still smoke. Now the fire begins to come out of the wing. The wing has obviously begun to depart from the airplane. The fuel is being let out of that wing. That's where most of the fuel is contained, in both of the wings. On landing, there's going to be less fuel than there would be on takeoff, so this is good news for these guys. Everybody's contained inside that fuselage still, which is really important. A little bit more, a little bit more. Now you see the airplane lurch up a little bit. All right, and on the far side of the airplane, you see what looks like the tail of the airplane. That's actually the left wing. it's starting to come up and look like the tail of the airplane. And as that left wing comes up, you can tell that the airplane is rolling. Normally it wouldn't be able to roll because the right wing would keep it from doing that. So I think at this moment, what we're looking at right here is the right wing has actually detached from the airplane. This is going to turn out to be actually a good thing for the survivability of the passengers on board. Why? Because all that fuel is contained in that wing, and that fireball is going to go back with the wing and not with the fuselage. The fire is not completely out in the fuselage, but it's not nearly as bad as it could have been. Look at that left wing coming up right now. All right. The entire right wing now is gone. Look at the size of the fireball, but it's contained in that right wing, which is now disappearing behind the back of the airplane. Now you see this rolling moment because there is no right wing to keep the centrifugal motion from the airplane going over. Here comes the left wing. That's not the tail, that's the left wing. Here it comes. People in the inside now are beginning to roll. And as that whole airplane goes over, it looks like a big fin on the top. That's still the left wing. So as we see all of that, now that airplane's going to roll all the way over. And this takes a matter of 2 to 3 seconds for all of this to happen. One of the things that takes place is that the tail of the airplane, which is normally sticking up in the air where the rudder is, it's now going to be upside down. When it goes completely upside down, it acts like a plow in the ground, or it acts like an anchor. And that's actually another good thing that happened for the folks on this airplane, because as it begins to dig in, it slows the motion of that fuselage, which is wanting to tumble. It's a good thing that fuselage didn't tumble 8 or 9 or 10 times, because it might have caused a lot more injuries. As it rolls over once, the tail digs in and it slows down to a stop. It does so in the snow and the dirt, which are all things that are going to suppress a fire. That right wing that had all the fuel in it, it's departed the airplane and it's well behind them at this point. That's going to give them opportunity to get out of that fuselage. Remember, everybody is hanging from their seatbelts at this point, upside down. What a shock. Here you see the first videos of the outside of the airplane. You can see that right wing of the airplane is completely off the airplane, right? This is an incredible shot, and the fire crews are already out there. So this is about 90 seconds after the crash. The fire crews got out there immediately. They're blowing now this foam agent on top of the fire. And you can see how strong the wind is. Now that wind direction that's blowing it over the fuselage that way was actually the direction that was coming that impacted that right wing when it dipped down and it touched the runway and it began that twisting moment. So having said that, the winds were from right to left. They were really strong when these guys touched down. Now let me comment on one thing here, all right? These people did not expect to be out in the snow and the blowing cold. They expected to be at the terminal about this time, greeting their friends and their family. So some of them are dressed for it, some of them are not. I want to talk to you directly about safety on an airplane. Folks, when you get on an airplane, think about this for a second. I don't want you to get scared. There's 10,000 takeoffs and landings a day, and this is a really safe way to go. But having said that, instead of dressing for your vacation destination in flip-flops and a halter top and shorts, dress to get out of the airplane in an emergency if you have to. Wear something that laces up over your feet. Wear jeans, wear cotton, wear long sleeve, wear something that you can get out of the airplane in an emergency. These people needed to be dressed right. Of course, they were going to Toronto, so they're going to be dressed warmer. But imagine if they had been going to Bermuda or the Bahamas, what they would have been dressed like trying to get out of the airplane in an emergency. One of the things that you see with the passengers is they don't know where to go, because the flight attendants are all back on the airplane helping everybody get off. There's nobody really in charge, so they're going to kind of tend to wander. It's like a herd of cats all over the place. Eventually, the fire crew is probably going to get them in a safe location, but they need to be careful that they don't get run over by a fire truck.
We made our descent and made touchdown. It was just a very forceful event where all of a sudden everything just kind of went sideways. And then next thing I know is kind of a blink and I'm upside down.
Okay, I want to talk about this guy for a minute. This is an incredible moment in life where this guy gets interviewed within probably minutes after a near-death experience. Now, I'm not a big fan of the media sticking a microphone in some grieving widow's face. I don't like that. I don't think it's fair or kind or just. This is different. This guy didn't lose anybody. He just went through a near-death experience himself, and you're getting the fresh raw response on his part of what he's thinking and what he's feeling. There's a longer interview with him. It's about 8 minutes long. I'm going to do a comment on that longer interview because I listened to the whole thing and it was absolutely fascinating to me. So we're going to try to get that out to you tomorrow with my commentary on the video. So look for that to come next. But right now, let's finish this video and this guy's commentary because it's incredible what these people went through.
Drop it. Come on. Don't take it away.
Okay, so you see the flight attendant on the inside of the airplane. She's helping people get off. Folks, let me make a comment right here. We debated whether to show this clip. Why? Because I don't want to encourage anybody in an emergency to get their phone out and video the thing, all right? The last thing you need to do is video it, but you can see the flight attendant in the airplane in harm's way, right? Kind of sacrificing her own safety to get the passengers off. These are highly trained professionals doing a terrific job. You got a couple of men, able-bodied guys on the outside being the helpers to help get everybody off. This is an all-hands process. That longer interview with that passenger, he talks about how everybody, the best in everybody comes out in an emergency like this. Everybody just looks around to see who else they can help. And I'm here to tell you that is super refreshing in a day and age where there's just a lot of ugly out there in the public square. In this emergency, everybody looks to help everybody else out. And again, we'll try to get that longer video to you, but look at the flight attendant, excellent, professional. Wow. Would you be in shock? I'd be in shock. Unbelievable. Looking back on this. All right, so here's what I think happened. I think they came in on a normal landing. For some reason, the landing ended up being much harder than normal landing. It could have been due to a gust of wind. It could have been some other factors. I don't know if they blew a tire on landing. Whatever it was, that wing tip on the right side dipped down far enough that it impacted the ground. As soon as it did, it dug in. When it dug in, there was a twisting moment. It twisted it off the fuselage, which actually ended up being good for the passengers on the inside because the fireball that emanates next is now separating from the airplane as a centrifugal motion of the fuselage in that left wing, bring it up and over. Then the tail of the airplane digs in like a plow, brings it to a full stop in the middle of the snow and the ice and the wind and all of those things, and the dirt, and all those things were factors that would put out a fire, not encourage a fire, giving the fire trucks 60 to 90 seconds to get there. Everybody goes into motion. You can hear ATC talking to the fire people. They give them clearance to get out to the runway or out to the crash immediately. They have to clear out all the other airplanes to give them space to do that, but they get out there, highly trained first responders, highly trained air crew, and it turns out to be a really, really terrific outcome and something that you can clearly see could have been a really tragic outcome. And we've had a fair amount of tragic in the last month. It's nice to have something that had actually a good outcome that's aviation related, although the images are not ones that we want to see on a daily basis. So that's my analysis on it, folks. Go back, look over it again if you need to. This one really turned out to have a happy ending at the end. I think 17 people went to the hospital, they said, with minor injuries, not even any critical injuries in this one. And I'm looking forward to doing some more analysis on this in the days to come. So I'm here to tell you, you're going to ask, is flying still safe? Yes, it's still safe. I just flew back from London myself, and I want to reassure you, 10,000 plus takeoffs and landings a day. All of these things happen in a short period of time, I know. But again, folks, it's the safest way to travel. You've got highly trained professionals at the helm. So you can rest assured it's okay to travel and it's okay to fly. Now you know. I'm Captain Steve, and I'll keep you updated on what I think is going to happen next with this particular incident. Thanks for tuning in.